they poured libation in the village. And when they pour libation, it is a very sacred thing. All right? So here we go. We're saying, we thank you, ancestors, for paving the way for us, for opening up the doors for us, for allowing us to be the people that we are today. We hope that you will continue to work in our favor. Again, we thank you for your love and guidance, and we respect you and call your names, and we respond with Ashe. Nikki Giovanni, Ashe. Judith Jameson, Ashe. Tony Todd, Ashe. Nika Nelson, Ashe. Quincy Jones, Ashe. Sissy Houston, Ashe. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Ashe. Marcus Garvey, Ashe. Malcolm X, Ashe. Ya Asantua, Ashe. Kwame Nkrumah, Ashe. Duke Ellington, Ashe. Josephine Baker, Ashe. And we take the last bit of water and we pay respect to those ancestors whose names we did not call, but we remember anyway. We say Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. All right. Okay, so now we can begin with the candle lighting ceremony. But before we do that, I want to explain everything that is on the table and why it is here. All right? The first thing is the mkeka. Everybody say mkeka? Mkeka? Mkeka is the straw mat that we use here. And we use this mat because it is the foundation of who our people are. All right? And somebody in my class should be able to tell me what kind of cloth this is. Yeah, what is it? No. Kuba cloth, guys. Kuba cloth. That is Kuba cloth. It comes from Zaire. All right? Now, on top of the mkeka is our kanara. Everybody say kanara. All right? The kanara is not a menorah. It's a kanara. Menorah comes from the Jewish people. We are not Jewish. We are African American. So this is called a kanara. A kanara has 7 candles that are to be held in them. So that is the kanara. All right, next we have our unity cup. That's what we use to pour libation. All right. We also have our ears of corn. Now the corn represents the children. So in my household I have 3 daughters, so there's a piece of corn for each of them. Some people take and they'll get 2 pieces of corn, one for the males, one for the females. All right? But this is an important part of the Kwanzaa table. All right? The other thing we have here is the most significant thing is our crops. These fruits stand for the crops that were reaped. So that is a part of the table there also. The other thing we have is our bandera, which is our flag. Now this is the traditional, this is not an African American flag, this is actually a Pan-African flag. So when Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Garvey, decided that he was going to put these colors together, these colors can be seen in African flags all over the continent. You'll see a combination of the 3 of them, sometimes they'll add gold in, but this is the 3 colors that represent the Pan-African flag, red, black, and green, and we know that red is for the blood, the struggle, black is for the people, and green is for the land of Africa. Now, one year, do I have it up here? Yeah, right here. This is the first Kwanzaa stamp. And when I first saw the stamp, I said, why would the artist make the flag the wrong colors in the wrong way? It's supposed to be red, black, and green. And I only found out a few years ago that Dr. Karenga decided that he did not want red to be first. He wanted black to be first because he believed the people should come first, then the struggle, then the land of Africa. So, I made this one here to symbolize this flag here, which is the black, red, and green flag. All right? Still keeping the colors, but he rearranged the order. And so, I even learned that myself, but I couldn't figure out why in 1997, when they did the stamp, was the colors out of order. But they're really not. This is the way he saw it. And so to prove that, the first candle that we light is the black candle, because he believed that first came the people. All right? Now, I've added a few other things on the table that you need to know about. One of the other things I've added on the table is called zawadi. Zawadi are gifts. And so those are things that you can give away. All right, so different things on the table can be a gift, like this little Africa pillow here. I have these black gnomes. I just started making these. And so these are my first 2 prototypes, so I haven't even really gotten into it yet, but I put them on the table anyway, because this is their first Kwanzaa, I think. Yeah, I think I made it last year, so this is their first Kwanzaa. And then other things that you can have as zawadi is something that helps with you understanding your culture better. The Black Candle video, and also books. I have some here. Books, and anything that can bring knowledge. Now, when you have your zawadi, it's generally supposed to be something that is handmade, like these, or is something that represents the people and the culture for you to learn or to express yourself with. So a piece of artwork from an African-American artist, somebody that has done something, a piece of photography, a book of poetry, things like that represent zawadi. An African mask, all of these things can represent zawadi. But they really emphasize you not going out and spending money per se, like on Walmart and places like that. The idea is that you're keeping the African-American income within the community, so that the money that is spent there. Now, let me say this. You guys have done an excellent job at this school, legal or illegally, supporting some of the students here in the school that have taken on this whole idea of entrepreneurship. So, I'm not going to put anybody on blast, because there's still some rumblings about whether or not the students should be doing it or not. But as a confessed supporter, let me just say I have a firm appreciation for your level of entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about that in a second when we get to the other principle. All right, so now, other things that I have on the table that are here. This box here actually has sand in it from Africa. It's a combination of sand from when I was in Ghana, and it's a combination of sand that literally comes from the bottom of the pyramids in Africa. So I always had that on the table to have the land of Africa there literally. Now, there are 3 other items that I have on the table that are significantly important, especially when it comes to African Americans who helped to build this country. And were it not for the slavery and things that occurred here in America through African Americans, many of us would not reap the benefits that we see now, even though some of us are trying to turn the clock back and do other things. But I digress. So, the number 1 thing is cotton. This is a raw piece of cotton. And it's so funny because 200 years ago, there wasn't a black person that hadn't touched a piece of cotton. And it's so rare now that you guys don't even know what a raw piece of cotton even looks like. So there's that. So if you want to see it up close, I don't have a problem. Just be careful because it is fragile. Now you should know this also. You should know this also. This is a unique piece of cotton because it was actually grown here in New Jersey. And those of y'all who know Miss Butterhoff, this piece of cotton comes from her father-in-law's farm that he has, which isn't far from here. Yeah, Miss Butterhoff. Yes, it comes from, I was driving down the White Horse Pike, and I was coming up near Stockton, And I looked over to my right and I saw all this white stuff on the ground. I was like, what was that? It's not snowing. I did a U-turn, I came back around and I saw that he had a cotton patch there with cotton, and I was blown out the water because I had never been in a cotton patch. Yes, it's in Egg Harbor City. And so this is a piece of cotton from that particular cotton patch. And I hold it in high esteem. So please, if you want to see it, you can, just be careful. The other significant thing that was grown in and that helped to bring this country the wealth that it has is tobacco. So I always put a cigar on, whether it be in the southern part of the United States or the Caribbean. Tobacco was significantly important and helped to make this country as wealthy as what it is. All right? And then finally, the last thing is sugar or sugar cane. Actually, you get a piece of sugar cane. Sugar. Those are the three things that help to bring prosperity to America. Unfortunately, for African Americans, those in bondage, they did not see any of that prosperity. They didn't see any of it because most of them were in bondage, all right, and exhibiting free labor for hundreds of years, all right. Those of you who did my project know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. I have a project called the African Avatar, and I'll show you guys some of that a little bit later. And the students learn about slavery and the Middle Passage through that whole process. But those are the things on the table. We have here a Kwanzaa pillow somebody gave me a few years ago. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to light the Kanara. All right? Or the 7 candles of the Kanara, I should say. And so I'm going to ask different people to come up to assist me with this. I'm going to start with Ms. Jones. Would you come and light our first candle, which is Umoja, which is unity. Okay, so now when we talk about unity, this is an area that we really need to get into. And the reason why is because these principles that we're talking about, yeah, they may go through one end right out the other, but I'm trying to tell you right now, over the next 4 years, you are really going to need to lean on these principles. And the reason why is because, you know, there's a lot going on politically, there's a lot of things happening, and people get into office and things like that, and they are not looking to benefit anybody that does not look like them. And it's as simple as that. And so these principles are what I am going to rely on definitely in the next 4 years. Ma'am, can you put yourself on the way, please? Thank you. Okay, so Umoja, unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Now, we have our own community here at PHS. You know, you guys are supportive of one another, and sometimes you're not supportive of one another. When we look at things like all of the fights that are happening here in our hallways, all of the disagreements that can be handled in different ways, all of the nonsense that occurs, we are not executing our Umoja the way we should. And we need to step it up. We need to look after our brothers, our sisters, whether they look like us or not. And the reason why is because we are all a part of the human race. But when it comes to unity and being together and making sure that we are able to progress and move forward, there should be no jealousy. There should be no hate. There should be none of that. So we really need to strive toward working on our Umoja, which is unity. To strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. All right? So there's that. All right? Kujichagulia, self-determination. Now, I used to think that this meant to be determined you was going to do something. But now I start looking at it a little bit different. Self-determination, to determine, means to determine who you are. Not letting anybody tell you who you are. Because in our culture, we have a thing where people love to say, oh, black people this, black people that, yada, yada, yada. And we're not speaking for ourselves, or they're not listening to us. But we are going to be listening, and we are going to be saying things for ourselves. All right? So when we talk about Kujichagulia, We are talking about self-determination. Now let me see, who that one needs to come up there to like this one? Okay, so after the black candle, we light the red candle on the inside. Inside, yes. Yeah. Good. Self-determination. I always admired Eaton's name because it was so different than anybody else I had ever heard of. And so his parents for him decided that he was going to be self-determined by the name they chose him. So when he pronounces his name, people know who it is. This is being able to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Now, not right now, but when you get a minute, there's a video that exemplifies this exactly what I'm talking about. There's a video of this woman who decided that she was going to make a Kwanzaa cake. Have you seen that video? Baby, let me tell you. She's a white woman. She decided she was going to make a Kwanzaa cake. And I'm going to tell you what was in the cake. And when I tell you it's going to gross you up, it's going to gross you up. She took an angel cake, a sponge cake. She took some apple filling, like you fill a pie in, dumped that in the middle. She put some pumpkin seeds and some other crazy kind of seeds and sprinkled it all over it. Then she put like some cream on top of it. And then she took these candles and like stuffed the candles in the cake. When I tell you they let her have it online, they let her, and it's still online, you can go check it out. It's absolutely the craziest thing you ever want to see. No black person that I know would ever even come within 5 yards of that cake, let alone trying to eat it or make it. But that was a concept of Coochie Chakalia, her trying to determine who we are, and we're not letting that happen. So they let her have it. So again, to define ourselves, speak for ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, all of that, that is Coochie Chakalia, self-determination. Many of you are going to go off to college. Don't let nobody tell you who you are. You be who you are. Don't let anybody try to influence you to do something that you don't need to do. You determine who you are. And many of you guys come to that energy already. And that's something that you need to keep. All right? Next, we're going to do collective work and responsibility to build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. Elijah, come light this candle, please, sir. The green candle on the other side. Thank you. Want to say something? All right, I chose Elijah for that because Elijah, he likes to make sure that those folks that are gathered, and I see him in the dance room rehearsing with the cheerleaders and make sure that everybody has the steps. He does his thing, and he's not afraid to collectively work and be responsible. All right? And again, the idea of this is to help build and maintain the community together and to help your brothers and sisters with their problems and to solve them together. This whole idea of I, that is not an African concept. It is a European concept. In Africa, it is about sharing. It is about people allowing others to barter and to participate in the community sharing together. Not just about I. All right? Next, Ujamaa Cooperative Economics. Yes, Matt, where's she at? Where's she? Yeah, tell her, come on. With the headphones on.
With the headphones on. Come on, Sanaa.
Yeah, Sanaa. I didn't want to mess her name up. Okay, so this is cooperative economics. And who better to light this candle than this lovely lady we have here? Everybody knows her because of her baked goods and things that she does around here. And so cooperative economics is to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. All right, that is cooperative economics. All right, yeah, backflip, please. All right, that's cooperative economics. What do we mean by cooperative economics? It is estimated that black people spend about, I think it's $3.5 trillion a year outside of their community. Only about 0.5% of that money goes back into the community. So now, what do I mean by that? When you are doing things like going to the barber, going to the hairdresser, supporting a black business in some way, form, or fashion. We went to Mr. Larry's store and the bookstore the other day. When you do things like that, you are supporting black income, you are supporting black businesses. When you go online and you purchase things like different items that come from African American artists and things like that, you are supporting and using that end of it, your UJMA, your cooperative economics. Keeping the money into the community. When you go to your friend and she does your hair and you pay her a certain amount of money, that is a part of keeping that money in the community. Making sure that it is there to support the folks that are in the community instead of going out, spending it out somewhere else. Yeah, we all got to go to Walmart, we all got to go to Target, we all got to do this. But how about making a consistent and a conscious effort to spend some money within the community? All right? So that's what they mean by cooperative economics. All right, next, Mia, purpose. Dale Neal, where's Dale Neal? Did he?
He left a while ago.
He just said? Thank you. All right, come on up. To make our collective vocation and building and developing our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Yes. Okay, so Nia, this is the hardest one to define. Because I think this is the hardest one for your generation to understand. What is your purpose? You're not here to party, be on your cell phone, have your headphones on, yada, 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 all of that stuff in the entire duration of your life. Eventually, you have to find a purpose. What is your point? Why are you here? It is not just to have fun. So what you have to do is to find a way so that you can have that fun, but also incorporate it into a greater purpose. What are you doing to better humanity? What are you doing to better your community? Fighting all the time and all that nonsense, that is not bettering the community. When you are doing something with purpose, it is your purpose to bring honor to your family's name. If you're bringing home a whole bunch of F's, you are not suiting your Nia. If you're not bringing honor to your family's name, being on the honor roll, doing things like that, you're on a sports team, you're doing great on that, you're doing your projects in class, you're supporting, your mom and dad is working hard. There is no parent that wants their child to do worse than they did. None. But many of you are going to find yourselves in that hole if you don't pull yourself together and work on your Nia. What is your purpose? It is not too early to figure out what your purpose is. Your purpose is not going to McDonald's working every day. That is not your purpose. Purpose is what you bring to the earth to make it a better place. Sometimes it takes a minute to figure out what that purpose is, but the key to that purpose is, what do you enjoy? And you're at a pivotal time in your life where you can decide, hey, I love doing games. I'm a gamer. Maybe I need to go to college to learn how to create games. Hey, I love dancing. So maybe I need to go to college to learn to be a better dancer. I can be a choreographer. I can own my own studio. Hey, I love cooking. I want to learn how to be a better cook. I can go to culinary and do really well. I really like watching little kids so maybe I need to go into early education. Those are the type of things that give you a purpose and a meaning. When I come through this door every day, I have a purpose. And the reason I have that purpose is because I look you in your face every day and I see that I need you to progress and to grow and develop. And that goes true for all of the teachers here at the school. We are only interested in one thing, and that is your greatness. And your greatness is wrapped around your NIA, what your purpose is. So if you don't know what it is yet, that's fine, but please don't sit back and wait too long for life to make that decision for you. All right, moving right along. Kwanzaa, creativity. Who's one of the most creative people that I know? Yeah, come on up with this. Yeah. Nene, come on, Nene. Okay. All right? Kwanzaa, creativity. To always do as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited. Now, we just lost 3 people this year who were giants. Quincy Jones. Now, those people who are in my class, we've already talked about Quincy Jones before we even realized he was going to pass away. Quincy Jones is the most successful recording producer in the history of the world. Why? Because he produced the most successful album of all time that sold 70 million copies, and that was Thriller, Michael Jackson. No other album has even come close to that. So, Quincy Jones, we lost him this year. Judith Jamison, who was an amazing African-American dancer. She was the prima donna of black female dancers. Amazing woman, beautiful spirit, incredibly talented, and we lost her too. And then just the other day, we lost one of the greatest African-American poets of all time, Miss Nikki Giovanni. All right, and I may pull up one of her poems and read it. We need to read Ego Tripping. Yeah, find that please. Yes. Ego Tripping. Nikki Giovanni was an amazing woman, an amazing artist who did her thing. She was a part of the LGBTQ community. She was a scholar and a poet, and is recognized around the world for, just doing amazing work, receiving several awards, really interested in education, all of that. So we lost her too. And we lost some other greats this year too. But those are 3 greats that really stand out in terms of the artistic world. Who is more creative than African Americans? Why do I say that? Because we come from the oldest culture on the face of the earth, having turned into the newest culture on the face of the earth. We created something from nothing, having been ripped away from Africa, our community, our family, our friends, everything, having to create a whole new culture here in America that now is the most successful culture probably on the face of the earth. Now, Marcus Garvey had this saying that he used to say, be proud of yourself like they were in the years of yore. Because one day you will create a culture that will amaze and astonish the world. He said that in the 1920s, and I'm convinced that he was talking about hip-hop. I am convinced. Because when you look at hip-hop, it spans a great deal of time. And it also spans different styles of music and fashion. Those of you who saw our Black History show last year saw exactly all the things that are entailed when you're talking about hip-hop. So those things are significantly important. All right? Imani. Come on. Light our last candle. Okay, Imani, which is faith. Faith. To believe with all of our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of the struggle. Now, this candle here is lit on the last day of Kwanzaa, which is New Year's Day. And it's very good because you're going to need faith moving into the new year. Especially as we come up on January 20th, but I digress. So, this principle here, while it could have a meaning that relates to a spiritualness to it, more commonly it's used to talk about you having a consistency, you believing in your heart in all of the things that we're capable of as African American people. So, those are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa that I follow through every day. They literally are on my mind every day because of the fact that there's so much to gain here with all of these, whether it's my purpose, my creativity, my cooperative economics, my collective work and responsibility, umoja, Fuji Chakalia, self-determination, all of that. And this is the path that I walk in. All right? All right, and these break it down a little bit more. The different candle meanings. And these were created again, these sayings were created by Dr. Corinda. So, these are the Kwanzaa principles. This is basically how you celebrate Kwanzaa. On the last night of Kwanzaa, there's usually something called a karamu, where people have a feast and they eat and what have you like that. So that is what Kwanzaa is encompassed. It has nothing to do with religion at all. You can still celebrate Christmas or whatever holidays you celebrate during this time period and celebrate Kwanzaa as well. Now, one thing that I want to mention is if you look up, you will see this chain that's hanging up. And you will see names on the chain. One of the old groups of diaspora in 2019, that was the 400th anniversary of the first black people being brought to America in 1619. So, in order to salute that, what we did was we went and found 400 names of people who had been enslaved. So every link of this chain is a different person that was enslaved somewhere here in America, and there are 400 in total. It took us a little while to get it together to do it, but we got it together, and I always break it out during things like Black History Month and for Kwanzaa, because you know, these are literally ancestors who helped pave the way for you to be where you are today. Now, where do we go moving forward? There's a lot of challenges you're going to be faced with. Things are not going to be as easy as they were before. I can tell you that now. There is a movement to specifically discriminate against people who look like you. And what you have to do is you have to have the wherewithal to use your purpose, your umoja, your kuji chakalia, all of those things to really cement the person that you are. Because we're going to be met with a lot of challenges over the next few years. And it's evident in the way that this country is. All right? And unfortunately, it is what it is. But we, as black people, have always survived. We will continue to survive. We will continue to progress. We will continue to allow ourselves to move forward and not let anybody hold us back. In spite of everything that they try to do, we've always overcome, and we will continue to overcome. All right? Some great things that are going to happen this year coming. I just found out that the African American Museum down in D.C., I think this week, is opening up a brand new exhibit where it talks about slave ships. So when we go down in April, I think we're going in springtime, we will get a chance to see that exhibit. I'm going to see it early because I'm going to D.C. next week, so I'm going to see it early. And I'm really interested in it. Those of you who are in my class know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Now, enough of the yakking. We have a little bit of entertainment for you. Ms. Cruz has selected some young ladies who are going to come and give us a wonderful dance. I'm going to move this table back with some.
Mr. Chair, they're getting ready to go to lunch, too. Just wanted to let you know.
Oh, Ms. Cruz? We always have a partnership with these students as they're part of the culture as well.
to Europe to cool my thirst. My oldest daughter is Nefertiti. The tears from my birth pains created the Nile. I am a beautiful woman. I gazed on the forest and burned out the Sahara Desert with a packet of goat's meat and a change of clothes. I crossed it in 2 hours. I am a gazelle, so swift you can't catch me. For a birthday present, when he was 3, I gave my son Hannibal an elephant. He gave me Rome for Mother's Day. My strength flows ever on. My son Noah built Newark, and I stood proudly at the helm. As we sailed on a soft summer day, I turned myself into myself and was Jesus. Men, intone my loving name, all praises, all praises. I am the one who would save. I sow diamonds in my backyard. My boughs deliver uranium. The filing from the fingernails are semi-precious jewels. On a trip north, I caught a cold and blue. My nose giving oil to the Arab world. I am so hip. Even my errors are correct. I sailed west to reach east and had to round off the earth. As I went, the hair from my head thinned and gold was laid across 3 continents. I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal. I cannot be comprehended except by my permission. I can fly like a bird in the sky.
Okay. I'm going to share with you this project by one of my students. This is a project that I call an African Avatar. And in this project, the students have to literally create a person, because every year teachers get in a lot of trouble about how they teach slavery in the Middle Passage, because they don't have a full understanding of what was involved. And so it's imperative to me that the students understand what is involved with the Middle Passage. So the first thing they have to do is they have to do a big project on one of the African countries that was a part of the slave trade. And so in this case, she chose Mali. Mali is in West Africa. I should have had to put a picture of it too. So after they choose a country and they do their project, they have to choose 2 cultures from that country. So one of the cultures she chose was Fulani for her male. And then the female, I think it's Dogon, and we'll see it in a minute. But this was the male. So she has to go to that culture and actually find a name that comes from that culture. So she found Juaro. So after she did that, she can decide his age between 10 and 50. And the reason why that is selected is because you would not have been able to survive the Middle Passage if you were older than that. And they didn't want to get you too much older than that. All right? Next, they have to choose 5 random letters. I'll tell you what those random letters mean in a minute. They don't know what they mean from the beginning. They're just 5 random letters. And they have to choose 1 special item, something that can be held in the palm of the hand. When it's closed up, can be concealed. So she chose the ring, and they have to have a special meaning as to the reason why they chose that ring. And so he chose his ring because it's a part of the traditional attire. All right, now moving right along to our next slide. The next slide, they found out how they are captured into slavery. So he was captured wrestling his cousin. All right? Jaro and his cousin were wrestling and playing with each other as usual. While doing so, he felt hands pulling him away, and suddenly chained his hands behind his back. Even while being confused on what was going on, Jaro struggled to get out of the grip. He called out to his cousin for help, only to be met with the sight of him not being there. He ran away. He felt dread and anger as the men started dragging him down the road. Now, it's important to understand this because the way that many of them were captured into bondage was different. And so no 2 ways were the same. All right? Moving right along to the next slide. The next thing is what happened. After he gets captured, he is thrown into a dungeon. Now, when I was in Ghana, I went to slave dungeons and I got a chance to see, and every person should visit a dungeon one time, and you will come out with a whole new respect for these people who survived this Middle Passage. So it says, he is strong and promises to fight to get away. Gyro fought and struggled the whole way to the dungeon. He almost broke away many times, but did not manage to fully get away. It was very hard for the captors to chain him down in the dungeon as he was thrashing around. Once they had managed to chain him down, he promised them that he would fight and he would get out. He panted and clenched his fist as determination settled in his chest. All right, now, all of this she has to create herself. The only thing I give her is that top sentence. And this is what her story was for that. All right? The next thing is they are put onto the slave ship. Now, each one of the avatars is branded. And by branding, I don't mean, you got something that you're trying to sell or whatever like that. Branding means that you take a piece of hot iron and you put it in fire, you let it warm up, and then you like so. And so, because you was walking away, but I do. And so, he was branded with the letters B-A-R. And the branding letters told them where they're going. So he's going to Barbados. All right? So, what the student has to do next is they have to find a real slave ship that went to the places where it says their avatar is going. So the name of the slave ship that she found was the Crow. And they have to find out which European country it came from. It came from Great Britain. The years that it ran, 1711, and also the name of the captain. And there is a database online which has all the listings of the slave ships that traveled around the world. All right? Next, she is chained to another avatar. Those letters that I showed you are the letters that symbolize the languages that she speaks. So, each student picks out their own random letters. When they're paired with somebody, they don't know if they can speak the same language or not. But what I understood is that many people were under this fantasy that the enslaved people could not speak the same language, and that wasn't true. Because when I was in the village, I saw little kids who spoke 8 and 9 languages. And so, as a result, some of them speak the same language. So we know that. Now her persons that she was partnered with, their male actually died before they even got to the slave ship. So what she had to do is create her own storyline behind that. But in her female, you will see a true conversation. The next thing and the final slide is that they have to find a mine or a plantation within a 100-mile radius of where the slave ship landed. And so, Gyro, and when they find that, they have to find out who the owner of the plantation was. So, Gyro was purchased by Christopher Crawlington on an auction block and taken to the plantation, the college in St. John on the east side of Barbados, where he picked the main crop, sugarcane. All right, so this is, I should put cut up there. This is the final destination, and then finally, when the student gets here, I come in and I change the name. And that lets me know they've completed the whole assignment. Gyro's name has been changed to Peter. All right, so this was Andrea's male. This is her female. She's Bambara Nyleni, I guess. Age 31, her random letters are here. The special item was this bracelet here. She was meeting with her boyfriend from another tribe, and she got captured that way. They grabbed her and took her in. She misses her family while she's in the dungeon. All right. Naili was branded with VAR as well. She's going to Barbados. The name of the ship was the Olive Branch from Great Britain. 1712 is when it ran, and the captain was Thomas Newton. All right, so this is a conversation. Hey, how are you feeling? I'm nervous, stressed, and worried. I feel as if I could throw up. I feel the same way. How did you get there? Get here. I was on my way to get flowers and crops for my sister's wedding when suddenly I was grabbed. So this is her and her partner. They both speak the letter B because they both randomly selected the letter B, so that's why they can communicate. And this is their conversation that they had throughout the duration. Now, I have to remind the students, they're not going to McDonald's, they're not at Cherry Hill Mall, they're on a slave ship. So the conversation should ensue that way. And then finally, they ended their conversation. This is an actual picture of the plantation where the avatar was sent. Drax Hall, St. George, Caribbean and Bahamas. And her name was changed from Naomi to Sarah. All right? So this is the project that is done. It's a very cumbersome project, and the students whine and cry about it, but it's imperative that they understand the history of slavery. And instead of me coming out and teaching it and just saying this is what it is, they have to discover, and the way they discover is through this avatar, how to go about it. Now, some of the avatars do not survive. One avatar smothered in the dungeon and couldn't breathe and died. Somebody else's avatar, I think, died on the slave ship. So these are real life occurrences. These are things that happen, and I don't whitewash any of it. Literally, it is what it is. Some of the women are offered by the captain or by the governor to come see them, and yes, some of them do get raped. It is a real life situation that these avatars go through. And so as a result of it, the students come out at the end having learned more about slavery than they knew before. All right, so that's how that goes about. So when you see, Andrea, she's not in here, she's not in there. You see her, congratulate her on her. She was the first one to complete theirs this year. And there you have the African avatar. Any questions? Everybody good? Thank you. Okay, so one of the community and unity and all of that. And so as a result of that, we all come together and we celebrate, we do different things. You can put your own Kwanzaa celebration together. It's not that difficult. You have a few things that you have to do. Pour libation. You have to do the candles. Now, everybody does not light the candles, all the candles in one night. You have to light them according to what night it is. All right? And sometimes you'll find that people go to different households or go to different places, and that particular night they'll light whatever candle it is that represents that particular occasion. So on Umoja, the first night, you'll find different people have different things, all the way down to Nia. We have a big celebration in Camden on Imani, which is the last night of Kwanzaa, which is New Year's Day, that I host at Mr. Larry's bookstore. Those of you who went know exactly where it is. So we host that every year on the last night because Mr. Larry is very big about the fact that New Year's Day was a big day in Black history. Why was it that way? Because a lot of us have these things called watch night celebrations, and a lot of people don't know that watch night was the night that the newly freed Black enslaved people were going to be freed in the year 1865, 1863, but eventually I guess rolled down to 1865 with the Galveston and Juneteenth celebrations. So we celebrate two different things in my class. One is Kwanzaa and the other is Juneteenth. Juneteenth we celebrate in June, of course, it's the end of the year, and it's a celebration of the marking of the beginning of the ending of slavery. It didn't end slavery, but it was the beginning of it. All right? Any questions? Everybody good? All right. Ms. Cruz? Where's Ms. Cruz? Oh, she in the hallway. Can you grab Ms. Cruz real quick? So when we have our Kwanzaa celebrations in and around the state, I think, who's that? Stockton had their Kwanzaa celebration. They always have theirs early, the first weekend in December. Okay, Ms. Cruz, we're gonna wrap this up now, and I guess we can begin to serve or whatever we're gonna do. Yeah. All right, any questions? Everybody's good? Yes. How long do you leave them on? As long as you want to. I mean, if you're going to light them again the next night, then generally you leave them off a little while and just blow them out. Generally. Because it can burn throughout the whole thing. But if you're only doing it that one night, then you can light it. And some people do light them all in one night because that's their one Kwanzaa thing they're going to do. But generally you're supposed to just light the one candle. Or whatever candle. So if you're on your third night, then you would just light the first 3 candles and talk about that. All right. And my brother is not here, but in his honor, Mr. Bediako always has my Ghanaian flag up here for my brother, Mr. Bediako. Cotton. Anybody want to see the cotton? Just be careful because it's really fragile.